Hello and welcome to Books in the World. I'm your host, Elisa Metcalf. Books in the World is a production of the Cape Cod Writers Center and the Cape Media Center. The Writers Center was established over 6 decades ago and sponsors a 4-day writers conference every summer on Cape Cod. The goal of Books in the World is to show how writers, illustrators, publishers, and editors, and others in the literary field play their roles in the world of books and other communication media. This show has been broadcast continuously since 1978, making it the longest-running program of its kind in the United States. Today, I am delighted to welcome author Nancy Crochiere of the book Graceland, which is coming out May 30th, is that correct?
May 30th, that's right, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here.
Delighted. Thank you for having me.
So, let's talk a little bit about Graceland. What is the general plot of this novel?
Well, if I'm going to tell you about Graceland in a sentence, I would tell you that it's about a single mom who is forced to chase her Elvis-obsessed mother and her pink-haired teenage daughter to Memphis to stop them from revealing a long-held secret. So it's a road trip chase, basically. 3 generations of women, mother, daughter, grandmother, all of them at odds with one another, each with her own agenda, and all of them on this road trip without necessarily knowing it's searching for something.
Right, so it was a really fun read. I thought I had a great time reading it. And if I could read this, since we're talking about it, Sarah Haywood, New York Times bestseller and author of The Cactus, wrote about Graceland. It is an exhilarating, edge-of-your-seat road trip with the most sparklingly offbeat set of female characters I've come across in a long time. The knots in which Hope, Dylan, and Olivia tie themselves by doing the right things for the wrong reasons and the wrong things for the right reasons are equal parts hilarious, nail-biting, and moving. Nancy Crochiere writes with such warmth and wit that I felt I was right there alongside these women, cheering them on at every step of their crazy journey. A hugely fun, fresh, and zesty read. And this encapsulates it perfectly, I think.
Thank you.
So how did you come up with this story?
It started as just a story about mothers and daughters. And we all know how tricky that relationship can be, but I had in mind this, my protagonist would she was unable to please her mother, who is a flamboyant former soap star, kind of washed up now, but
Olivia.
Olivia has been obsessed with Elvis all her life and had a pivotal date with Elvis back in 1970, and Olivia is now on oxygen from COPD, and she wants to see Graceland one more time before she dies, but she needs her daughter Hope to take her. And unfortunately, that's the one thing Hope can't do is
Right.
go back to Memphis, because that's where she left with a secret 17 years ago. So
Yeah.
she's unable to please her mother. She's also unable to please her teenage daughter. Her sort of angry activist pink-haired daughter has discovered that Hope is lying to her and lying to her about her father. And so when Olivia and Dylan, the teenager, end up joining forces, Olivia promises Dylan that in Memphis she can finally meet her mystery father, and they take off together. And poor Hope has nothing left to do but to follow them and try to stop them, because if the secret is revealed, who the father is, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, so these characters, there's such great depth to them, like the Olivia character, the mother. We know this person, she's a bit of a narcissist. The former actress, so she has to let go of her stardom somewhat, because here she is on oxygen. Mm-hmm. And it was just so great the way you wove that in to, their adventure where she would get recognized at parts, in restaurants or whatever, and have that moment. But there she is, like on oxygen. So there was the annoyance of that mixed with the the gratitude of having been noticed. So there's a lot of dimensionality going on there.
Yeah. Well, Olivia was on one of these long-running soap opera stars. She was on her soap opera, The Light Within, for like 35 years. So she became quite a recognized person.
Sure.
Yeah. And yes, so during the road trip, she's still recognized despite the fact that she's, she has to use a cannula and she's older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a great character. And of course, the conflict with the mother, Hope, who is just, the quintessential people pleaser, mm-hmm. always trying to do the right thing. She's in kind of a bit of a go nowhere job too, right? Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's not pleasing anybody at the moment. She feels like she's not pleasing her mother. She's not pleasing her teenage daughter. She's not really pleasing her boss,
right. Or herself,
or herself.
Not really
honestly,
happy.
Right? Which is a very key point in the novel. There's an important theme in the novel about identity and about sort of being happy, learning to be happy with who we are versus who others want us to be, and each of the characters experiences that kind of quandary during the road trip and has to deal with it.
Right. Yeah, that's part of their journey. And Dylan, the daughter, is 16.
Yes.
So Hope's daughter,
yes.
Or Olivia's granddaughter,
yes.
16, and she's a very rich character. She's got a lot going on.
She does, yes. She's 16, so yeah, she mostly knows how to drive when Olivia talks her into driving her to Graceland. But yes, Dylan is very impulsive and gets herself into a lot of trouble. She has a good heart. She's advocating for a lot of causes that she believes in. She's decided that she wants to be an activist, and she's working hard at it, but she sometimes just goes a little bit too far or acts a little impulsively. So.
Right. Yeah. No. The the dynamic between all three of them is also, there's the conflict. They get pitted against each other at different times during the book. It's a very fun web going on there. Now we have some secondary characters too that were interesting. It's Hope has a friend from Memphis when she grew up, like a childhood friend.
George?
George,
yes. George is Hope's cousin as well as now her best friend. And yes, George proudly cross-dresses as Jordan and wants to help Hope on this trip to Memphis.
Yeah, they're all in Boston, right? This is where they all
road
live
trips,
now.
Yes, they start in Boston when Olivia's career ended in LA. She moved, and she had to be on oxygen. She moved to Boston to be closer to Hope and Dylan. So that's where the road trip starts.
Right.
And George is also in Boston. That's how Hope ended up there when she had to flee from Memphis many years ago.
Yeah.
But yes.
Great characters, and the Dylan character too is, she's questioning her own sexuality and is very involved in the LGBTQ movement. And then there's Jordan/George, who is a cross-dresser. But these characters they're very organic in the story. It's not like they are, you wanted to give some, represent an underrepresented person, so let's crowbar them into the story. I mean, it's not at all like they are fully fleshed out characters who just happen to be, as in real life. And it just worked so well and added like a little extra layer to the story itself.
Well, good. I'm glad that you felt that way, because that was certainly my intent. Part of the reason for including George, who is on the trip dressed as Jordan, was because I'm going to use the she pronoun because during the trip she's Jordan. She has experienced in the past this identity crisis, and she is actually a great foil for Hope, my main character, as Hope deals with the fact that she isn't being the person that she wants to be. Jordan is able to bring some push Hope a little bit into acknowledging some of the issues that she herself doesn't necessarily see.
Yeah, the interconnection between all of them is great. So the opening pages are so, when we're looking for agents, everybody talks about, you have to have really good dynamic first 5 pages, maybe 10, because, that's all the agent's going to read. This book I found, like right from the get-go, within the first handful of pages, you know who all of the characters are. It's very clear, how they're conflicted within with each other, what all of their motivations are, their conflicts, the story is laid out, like, here's what we're gonna do. One of them wants to go to Graceland. There's gonna be this road trip to Graceland. I mean, everything was just so clear and so, the pacing was set right from the get-go. And to be honest, I thought, well, we know all this stuff. Maybe there won't be any surprises, but absolutely not. I mean, there were surprises at every turn. It was really fun. So I guess my question is, as a writer too, how many revisions did it take to get to this point where everything was just so tight?
A lot. Thank you, and thank you for all that. I mean, because it's wonderful to hear all that, because my goal was to write a fast-paced and fun book, but have all the characters have their mission, but with surprises that happen. And so thank you for saying that was successful. But it did take a lot of maneuvering, especially when we had dual road trips going on. We have Hope and Jordan chasing after Olivia and Dylan. We have different timelines because we go back into the past a little bit to see exactly what happened to Hope in Memphis 17 years ago. So I started writing the novel in 2015, and I think I did the final draft and was querying by February of 2020. That's when I started querying, which, if February 2020 doesn't set off alarm bells in everybody's mind right now, you know what a horrible time that was to start querying during a time when, all of a sudden publishers and agents weren't sure what the world was going to look like in a pandemic and what people were going to want to read. But
was there much interest?
I queried for about 8 months and I got a fair amount of interest but no bites. And so at that point I took the manuscript back and I worked on it yet again. And I cut some words and I hired a developmental editor just to be sure that everything was there. And when I finished that revision process, which took a good part of a year again, and started querying again, that was when I got an agent very quickly. So I always tell, beginning writers to persist, because it can take a lot of tries to get an agent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this book, for somebody who's in the querying process, this is a masterclass in opening pages, I thought, because everything was just so well laid out. I really enjoyed. I was really jealous.
It actually won a couple first page contests at different.
I'm not surprised.
Different conferences. Yeah,
it was great. So we toggle between the 3 points of view, between Olivia, Dylan, and Hope. When you're writing that, do you tend to write like linearly, or do you kind of focus on each person's journey one at a time and then plug them into the book? What's the process for that?
Yeah, for me it was more linear to get the story down, and after I had the story down, then there was a lot of juggling in terms of the point of view for which character was the best person to be telling that aspect of the story, and I had to switch things around a few times with regard to that. To be honest, when I first started writing the novel, I had in mind that it was just going to be Hope and Dylan, the teenager, who would be narrating, because I wanted to keep Olivia's motivations a little secret. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that I think readers are with you more if they know more about your character's motivations. So Olivia became the third point of view, and very, very naturally, and
yeah, I thought it worked so
yeah,
well, because I mean, she has such a strong personality that it was great to, and to write like that with all the different point of views. It requires a lot of strategy that was so well done that, one person's point of view would kind of, their chapter would end with this bit of a cliffhanger, and then the next person picks up somewhere else, and then you get that backstory. So all these tales and backstories are woven together just so masterfully. It was really a great fun.
Oh, thank you.
So how did you research this book?
Gosh.
Were you an Elvis fan from the get-go?
I was not a big Elvis fan to begin with, but one of the first things I did was read the 2-volume Elvis biography by Peter Guralnick, and also take some trips to Memphis, including the actual.
You made the trip?
I did the actual road trip. Yep, and it's amazing.
Who did you go with?
I actually, so I went to Memphis 3 times, and I had 2 girlfriends who went with me, and one of them did the whole trip with me, the drive. But it's interesting what you find out when you actually drive through Tennessee instead of just imagining it in your head, because it turned out that all of a sudden I noticed that the clock on the car was different from my watch, and it was like, oh my goodness, there's a time zone change right in the middle of this state, and I had to go back because I had everything plotted to the hour,
wow.
and I had to rearrange some things.
And that was your first time at Graceland? Was just for the research?
Yes. So now I've been to Graceland twice, and it's an experience.
Yeah.
Have you been?
I have not. I have been to Tennessee, but not Nashville. So
Memphis. Yeah.
Oh, Memphis. So now we know I haven't been there because I don't even know where it is. So there was also some other research that went into the book, because there's a scene where some of the characters get thrown in the clink.
Yes, yeah.
And did you have to, what did you have to do to research that?
Oh, yes. Some of the research was very tricky, and yeah, I had to talk my way into a politician's office, and I tried to talk my way into a jail cell. I didn't I didn't want to stay there. I just wanted to get a look at it, and I didn't get all the way there, but I did visit the Memphis Correctional Facility. It's a combination police station, jail facility at 201 Poplar in Memphis, and yeah, I kept trying to get the police officer there, who was kind enough to talk to me, but I think he didn't really believe that I was a writer. I kept saying, well, give me some information about where somebody would be taken if they were arrested at the Peabody Hotel and brought here. And he would say, well, what did your friend do? And I said, no, it's not my friend. I'm just a writer. And well, where is your friend now? No. So
do they have any weapons?
Yeah. He was having a little trouble, and perhaps understandably, given his job, buying my story. But he ended up being very helpful in describing the jail cell to me, even though he wouldn't actually let me see it.
Right. Yeah. Very believable. At what stage in the draft did you decide to make the trip?
Oh, that's a good question, because I've done it. So as I said, I started writing in 2015, and I've done 3 trips to Memphis since then. So I think there was a very early one just to sort of get a flavor of things and to visit Graceland for the first time. There was one maybe 2 or 3 years later to do some more research. I think trying to talk my way into jails and offices and locked auditoriums. And then there was the actual road trip, which I did, I think, just 2 years ago. Yeah.
Right. Great. Good work. So what's your background as a writer? You had a column for a while, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I actually worked in educational publishing for many years, but on the side, I wrote a newspaper column for 13 years about family life. It was sort of an Irma Bombeck type column about humorous, yes, about just
that comes through. There's a lot of humor in the book.
Thank you. The craziness of family life, just how I'd be tossing a salad in the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, trying to get one kid to a soccer banquet while getting the other one something to eat. How my husband and I would battle over vacations where I just wanted to, lie on a beach with a fruity drink, and he wanted us to get up at dawn and climb Mount Washington. So those were the types of things that I wrote about, and I did that for, I think, 13 years. And while my kids were growing up, and they finally got to college, and I ran out of material.
And they didn't mind being the subject of this column?
They did not. They treated it differently. My older daughter, for years, just mostly ignored the whole thing, and my younger daughter was more interested in it. She once noted when she was about 7, I'll just say funny things and you write about them, okay, Mom?
Right, yeah, they start almost performing it's like, I'm auditioning for the column.
But what was nice was with my older daughter, when she graduated from college, she started reading them on her own, and she called me one day at work and she was laughing hysterically, and she said, "This is really funny," and I was like, "Oh, thank goodness, that turned out okay. I didn't traumatize her in any way."
Oh, that must be terrific, a good feeling. And then there's a compilation book that you made from the columns called Motherload.
The Motherload, yeah. The Motherload was the name of my column, and I just, mostly for friends and family and local community, I gathered together some of the columns that people had told me were their favorites over the years, and some of my favorites, and I put them together in a book that my friend and I sort of published it with a little publishing enterprise we had for about a year.
Oh, nice. But that's still out. People can get that?
Absolutely. It's still on Amazon. Yep.
Terrific. So the characters in this book, since your column was based on you used your family as fodder, are these characters drawn from anybody in particular?
Not necessarily. Olivia sprang up fully formed, I think, just from my imagination. She was just one of those characters that just wrote herself. Dylan, it helped to have had teenage daughters to know what that was like. But Hope has a little bit of me in her. I think I've always been a bit of a people pleaser and a slight introvert, and that's Hope. Always, just wanting to please other people at the expense of your own inner self.
Right. So some of Olivia's, her background as a soap star, you have a little experience in that world. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I, in my spare time, I act as an extra or a background actor, or sometimes they're called, in TV and movies that are filmed in the Boston area. So I've been in a few movies. It's nice to be able to get a close-up look at somebody like Bradley Cooper. He's always nice to look at close-up, right?
Sure.
And sometimes you spend a day on set there and your work is never seen. Other days, you do get a little bit of a role in the movie. But yeah, that helped me with conceptualizing what it was like for Olivia to be acting on a soundstage, on a, you know, the heat, the lights, various
Sure.
aspects of that. Now, I never acted on a soap opera, but I did watch quite a few of them growing up. My grandmother lived with us. She took care of me after school, and so I would come home, and she always had her lineup of, you know, Another World, Days of Our Lives, The Doctors.
I went through a phase of that.
Turned,
I'd be in front of the TV, I think, from 12:30 till 4, you know, every afternoon. But and then I got a life, maybe. So, what's in the future for you? Is there a screenplay, perhaps, maybe coming soon?
Yeah, I don't know about Graceland. I think it would make a fun movie.
It would. I mean, it's so fast-moving and just very cinematic. You know, when you're reading it, you can just completely see it as a film.
Yeah, but in terms of, I actually wrote a screenplay. I have a friend who wrote a memoir, and I recently turned it into a screenplay, and we've submitted it to a contest for screenwriters for women over 40 to help elevate them, and because we all know that, you know, Hollywood does not make life easy for women over a certain age. But I'm also starting work on another novel, which is in the beginning stages right now. So.
Terrific. Well, we're short on time, but I want to thank you so much for coming and for sharing your book. It really was a lot of fun, and we can pick this up in all the usual outlets. And do you have a website also?
I do, yes. NancyCrochiere.com is my website. Yeah, the book can be pre-ordered there. You can get it on all the normal, you can get it on the HarperCollins website, of course, through your independent bookstore, which is my favorite way to shop for books. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. It was great.
And thank you for watching Books in the World. If you have enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, you can find links through our website at CapeCodWritersCenter.org, through our Facebook page, and on YouTube. Thank you for watching Books in the World.